Good evening. I am the casual observer. Witness with me a podcast talking about the comics from Marvel. What if we had a podcast talking about what if the comic book series? Will it hold up? Will Andy and Mike actually be Mike and Andy? Or will someone like Kevin or Matt take over the podcast? We'll find out together in this episode of And This Is Why I Love Comics. What if?
You're listening to And This Is Why I Love Comics.
Andy and Mike.
And welcome to another exciting episode of And This Is Why I Love Comics. What are we talking about? I don't know.
So, got these funny books, and I am trying to sort them out. Now, I got to be honest. I got these things.
What if?
Yeah. What if I didn't read ahead of time? I was flipping through some of these other ones because it's like, these were like in collections of what ifs. And there's two things that had happened. One is like the complete what ifs, collecting issues 1 through 13, 15. And it's like, how can it be complete if you skipped like an issue? Right. And of all the issues, I was like, what did they do? Was it like something
Conan, isn't it?
No, Conan's in there.
Oh, okay.
It was the one where Shang-Chi was worked with his dad, Fu Manchu.
Oh, yeah.
But this is like complete.
It's stereotypical, so they took out the Fu Manchu. Offensive. It's like, whenever I see a Mario thing, I'm offended for the Italians. So.
Oh, yeah. And hey, living near South Bend and the fighting Irish, some of us are pacifists.
Right?
Just kidding.
Just kidding. We're all fighting.
We're all fighting. Who am I trying to kid?
Right.
Reading this one about Thor, this one probably should have been dropped. Ooh.
Right.
There's some assumptions made. It's pretty dang amazing. I was kind of surprised how many of this Don Glut dude wrote.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if that was kind of like a pseudonym where it's like, none of us really wanted to lay a claim on it. Kind of like the, was it Alan Smithy was the name of the, if you were a director and you wanted to disown yourself from the movie you just directed,
right,
you would just say, just put Alan Smithy as the director.
Yeah. Comic book version of that, but I forget what it is.
Yeah. So much for us knowing comics.
Right.
Can't even pull up obscure trivia like that. They had, some of the concepts were really, really stretching things thin. One, the one after the Doctor Strange one I read has Spider-Man. What if he didn't go into crime fighting? He became a talk show host, a late night talk show host. Yeah. And I'm thinking, what? That was the direction you went? Uncle Ben doesn't die, so he's going to go clearly. He'd be a talk show host. You could tell that right from...
We've already started our what-if conversation.
No kidding. Yeah. Didn't take long.
No, it did not. Whenever I hear what if now, because I have kids and stuff, I think of I don't know if you know the Wildcrats. They have a live-action segment where they talk, and then they go, what if? And then they pose, and then it goes into the cartoon. So I wonder if they ever got sued for that.
So it's actually what if number 16, and the story is what if Shang-Chi, master of kung fu, just as not to be confused with Shang-Chi, master of the delicatessen, had remained loyal to Fu Manchu. That's the issue that they dropped, and it's like, well,
what if the Punisher worked for the Kingpin?
Yeah, there's so many of these things that have been like, I get it, but I don't see why. But then there are a lot in here that do have ramifications on current or somewhat current. Because, obviously one of them that I did read is what if Jane Foster grabbed Thor's hammer?
Right.
And there's going to be a movie that's got her grabbing Thor's hammer.
Yep.
Euphemism aside.
Right. Hey there.
That's what she said. And then another one, obviously, is what if Spider-Man's clone lived, and that was like the whole premise of this, the clone saga. And
I'm looking at one right now on my collection. It's what if the Amazing Spider-Man had not married Mary Jane?
That was like
happened.
Brand New Day. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then there's another one. What if Elektra had lived? And then Frank Miller did that graphic novel, and then they did obviously bring her back multiple times. So it's like mercy. They've done quite a few of these where it's like, I think somebody went back through here and it's like, yeah, let's just go ahead and lift these things. But the what if number 22, what if Dr. Doom had become a hero? And that's the premise of Mark Waid, his Irredeemable series or something like that, Incorruptible or something like that. I think that was the one where he basically took Dr. Doom and made him the hero, where Irredeemable was like the Superman, and the Superman had gone bad. And I read the one with the Superman one. That was the only one I actually did get through. The other one I had heard of. Oh yeah, dang it, even this one. Holy crap, they did do almost every one of these things. What if the Hulk had the brain of Bruce Banner? That was number 2. And Spider-Man, I don't think he ever did officially join the Fantastic Four, but
did he in Art Adams, Ghost Rider, Wolverine?
Oh, that technically, yeah, when they grabbed all the most popular characters, and made them into the
Spider-Man
Fantastic Four.
What was it?
It was Ghost Rider, Hulk, it was the Gray Hulk, and then it was Wolverine, and then the Punisher made a cameo. Literally, he just like was flying over there in a helicopter, saw that everything had been resolved, and then just flew back. While we kind of joke that, the writers use these stories, technically, this is the Watcher who's looking at all these alternate realities. So these did actually happen in the Marvel Universe. All of these stories actually happen sometime, somehow in the Marvel Universe. It's just the multiverse. Yeah, and it's kind of strange to think about it, but they had that concept even back in the 70s, this, multiverse term. Like the DC had alternate Earths, but the multiverse term was coined even this far back. And I don't know why it just seems weird, but it does.
Yeah, what if debuted in 1977? It's kind of like there's a point of divergence or something where the story takes a turn sometimes with just a simple phrase, which is what you've been reading as some of these titles and stuff. I mean, they're pretty basic for the most part, but some of them, like the 2 issues that I've read for this podcast, is what if the Avengers defeated everybody?
Why wouldn't they?
From issue 29 of the first series. And then the issue 24 of the second series was, what if Wolverine was Lord of the Vampires?
I remember that cover. I do remember that cover. That was such a goofy cover because he's all like that, with a big old sharp fangy teeth.
Right. And he's killing Dark Phoenix, Punisher's in the background. Yeah, that's I read those 2 for the podcast, and I chose the first one because it's the first what if I had. What if the Avengers defeated everybody? I got it probably off the rack when it came out. The other one I just thought was pretty goofy, but this is the oldest what if I had, was number 29, and I've since gotten more, but I thought it was pretty funny. I'm not sure. Probably the cover drew me in. It's great. The cover says, what if the Avengers defeated everybody? And then it's the picture of them with, everybody laying around them dead. And the word balloon at the bottom, it says, caution. This may not be the best story you've ever read, but with a cover like this, how bad could it be? That's way to sell that book, Marvel.
Oh, man.
This might not be a great story, but what a great cover. Excelsior.
Exactly. What's going on with Giant Man? I guess, is he supposed to look like he's kneeling? Because it looks like he's actually about ready to drop a deuce.
He's got to fit in the picture, so of course he's kneeling down.
Is that a Michael Golden cover?
It's written by Stephen Grant, Alan Cooperberg, and Al Gordon were the artists. Gaff was the colorist. Jim Shooter was the editor with DeFalco, but it doesn't say who did the cover.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of these things are very deceptive, meaning that the cover artist was rarely the artist inside.
Right, yeah. The cover artist probably didn't have a clue what the story was.
Yeah, and what was up with is it just because it was that team when they first assembled? Because like that particular cover showcases Daredevil in the old yellow and red costume,
and the X-Men were also.
Oh yeah, and the yellow and blue.
Yeah, it was taking place right after the Avengers formed, before Captain America.
That makes a lot of sense.
Not sure why the Blob's up in the corner, but you know.
Hey, nobody moves the Blob.
That's right. Nobody moves the Blob.
Classic X-Men cartoons. Dialogue that we remember decades later. Give me like some sort of Shakespeare line I had to remember. Not a clue. Right. But a one-off line that I heard once from the Blob in the cartoon animated series.
Well, the best was Wolverine. Want a piece of fruit?
Yes. Because that was his catchphrase in the comics.
Right. Want a piece of fruit?
He waited the entire life to see Wolverine come to life on the screen somehow, and you get that dialogue. Right. Not even a bub. You want a piece of fruit, bub? I'm the best at what I do, and it is cutting up fruit.
An Australian accent, from Canada.
Yeah. Mate, want some Vegemite?
Yeah, for the longest time I thought he was Australian because of that cartoon.
Yeah, it kind of threw things off a little bit. And the irony is that Hugh Jackman played him in the movies.
Right. Yeah.
An Australian wound up playing him anyway. So it was destined to happen. Again, talking about what if, predicting the future. That cartoon predicted the future of who was going to play Wolverine. Yeah. One other one, it does have like, what if Gwen Stacy had lived? And they keep trying to bring her back in all these other iterations of her.
Spider-Gwen.
Yeah. Gwenpool and all sorts of random mess.
Random Gwenness.
Yeah, that's a fad for a while, then that'll go away, and
hopefully it's there forever now.
Yep, but we still have now.
That's why I hate
old
comics.
Marvel. And the cantankerousness begins.
And the Get Off My Lawn 2 episode starts right now.
Yeah, back in my day, we didn't have alternate universes. People making real snappy comments about whatever was on their minds.
Okay, we had Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth Prime, Earth S, Earth X, Earth whatever, but we didn't have multiverses.
Oh, man. So, yeah, on my end, I grabbed both of them from Volume 1, dating back to the 70s and 80s.
Nice.
Issue number 10 for a whopping 60 cents on the cover price was What If Jane Foster Had Found the Hammer of Thor. And then, and I thought, well, both of these were kind of grabs due to the upcoming or currently playing movies. Yeah. So the other one is, number 18. It had gone from 60 cents in number 10. Only 8 issues later, it jumped up a whopping 15 cents. So it's 75 cents an issue. I know, outrageous. This is, out of control inflation, apparently.
I remember.
18 was What If Doctor Strange were a disciple of Dormammu? Bum, bum, bum.
I remember when it went up to 75 cents from 60. I also have a recollection of when it jumped to $1.50.
But was that the normal price of comics at that time, or were these like extra something, did they have extra pages and they justify? Because, I don't remember comics in the 70s being 60 cents. I remember the still 35 cents.
It was early 80s when I remember it jumping around, but I got really good at math, doing $1.50s, Okay.
Oh yeah, different increments.
And then 75 cents. We were talking last episode about how we do it with distance and time and stuff, but comics also, help me do math and with money and stuff. So, I learned.
Yeah, that car cost me 40,000 comic books back in 1970 or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, that's actually this.
Yeah, I was playing a D&D type game with my 12-year-old, 5-year-old, and 4-year-old, I didn't realize, I mean, I did, but how much it's helping the younger kids, just learn what numbers are on the dice and stuff like that. So it's kind of neat, I call it a learning tool, so I can play with it more, so I can play all these games, and I'm teaching you numbers.
Yes. Yeah, it's all about that. It's the benefit of that. Not that you're also one of them who's like, any excuse to game would be great, even if it means I have to make my own progeny to do so.
Right. Yeah.
It was the long con in order to play this game. I had to wait until they got enough sentience. Yeah. The only reason why I had kids of my own was so I could game with them.
Right.
And then we could talk comics.
Absolutely.
And use them as excuses to go into toy stores.
You don't need that excuse anymore, though.
No, not at all. Now it's almost only exclusively people of a certain age walking into toy shops.
Yeah, you have to explain now why you brought your children with you.
Yeah, it's like kids unattended will be sold.
Leave your backpacks and your children at the door.
We don't serve their kind here.
When we're recording this, it's May 4th, so happy May the 4th be with you. We promised not to talk about Star Wars this episode because we went heavy Star Wars the last 2 episodes. But, TK421, why aren't you at your post?
Going for some deep cuts there.
Right, deep cuts. Also, Clear Bay 327, we're opening the magnetic field.
Yeah, I was going to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
Right.
Didn't have enough wine in my voice there, but...
Cut. Try that again.
I was going to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
Yeah. They dropped an Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer today. Did you see it?
No, I didn't even know that they did. I'd assumed that they would have done something.
And it looked great. But no, it looked good. Other than that, not too much Star Wars going on here. Any Star Wars in your life today?
No, outside of people going like, hey, happy May the 4th. I went to a local AAA ball or whatever they call it, basically the minor leagues ball team here, and they were playing the Imperial March. And, when the opposing team came in, and then whenever there was a strikeout, they had Chewbacca's roar. So that was the main points of like, oh, I get it.
Those mainstream people... So
to them, that equals Star Wars. No, but it was pretty good. All things considered, it was pretty good. But I didn't get a lot of like people just coming out of the woodwork going like, "Hey, remember that time when you did this?" or "Hey, remember this movie when we did this?" or anything like that. It was just pretty much a fairly straightforward Star Wars Day. Yep, Star Wars Day. Yep. That was it.
So you felt pretty funny when you had to get rid of the Stormtrooper costume you were wearing at the time because nobody was really paying attention to you.
Yep, all that effort. Those things aren't easy to put on. I'm telling you that much. They're not easy to put on.
Not one person mentioned it.
No, nothing. And it was like movie accurate. I even had like weathered it and everything. Oh, made out of old milk jugs. That probably was a little less impressive.
Should have washed those milk jugs out first.
It would explain why the bees were all over the place, but what's that rank smell? But yeah, it was, and then no one mentioned how much, they appreciated things like Itchy and Lumpy and all the other characters as we were all trying to remember Life Day as well. Life Day was the original one, and then like most things, it gets usurped by commercialism, and May the 4th comes in and just sweeps up and takes away what true Star Wars, the true meaning of Star Wars, Life Day. Yeah, I mean, anytime you can get Carrie Fisher to kick out a sweeping ballad, it brings a tear to your eye, and then watching various Wookiees in white robes.
And Boba Fett.
Creepily. Yeah, that's the only thing that makes the holiday special worthwhile. Right. So here we are. We're definitely not talking about Star Wars.
No.
But let's go ahead and talk about...
We are not talking about Star Wars today.
That was like that cartoon, that animated thing was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And Yeah, I just remembered at the time going like, "What is this? Who is this character? He's got to be this has got to be the best character ever." And then he has like 2 sentences in all of Empire, and then is quickly dispatched in return.
But he gets his own series 80 years later.
Well, half a series. They realized they kind of were like, "Yeah, this isn't really going anywhere. So let's just bring the Mandalorian in and
Everybody get the Mandalorian over here.
Sprinkle in some baby Yodas, throw out the Mandalorian."
We need a Grogu to save this stat.
Oh man, still am not sold on that name. But at the same point, I don't know if it's just because it's like, my kids had those Go-Gurts when they were growing up. And it's just like
baby Go-Gurt.
Go-Gurt, yeah. It's like if you squeeze this little green guy, well, like weird juices, like a frothy like yogurt substance come out of his mouth.
Right.
I don't know.
It's considered a delicacy on Tatooine.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, that's why it's the if there's a bright spot in the center of the universe,
The farthest
it's
from
the
it.
furthest from it. Crap, dude. So again,
Not Star Wars. Not a
Star Wars
podcast.
podcast.
No, not a Star Wars podcast at all.
Yep. We're talking comic books.
Yeah,
Them funny pieces of paper with
Talk about
words
Star
and
Wars
pictures.
comic books.
Yeah, we did that. We did that. See, we preceded it. We're so ahead of the curve on trends that we did a Star Wars one already.
Right?
But what if?
Right? They'll love it. They'll go back and listen to it again, I'm sure.
Yep, because we're talking now about
What if?
yeah, and then again, that was doing what we're talking about with what if, that Dark Empire, a lot of things that came about in Dark Empire came into fruition in those last 3 movies.
They read the old series, said, what if we actually used that good and then still make a sucky movie?
Still making bad movies with one gem.
What if?
Yeah. It's literally like we hid the Hope Diamond in a ginormous pile of dog manure. So you have to sift through it all to get that Hope Diamond, but that diamond's in there somewhere.
Is it?
Have at it. Is it worth it? Yeah. And that's the thing. You have to take our word for it. Whether or not it's there, I can't guarantee it. So one thing that kind of cracked me up about these is that I forgot how the Watcher appeared before a certain era. A lot of times the Watcher was just this fat, bald dude.
Uatu.
And then later they try to, I think, alien and make him look more and more alien as opposed to some dude who forgot that his toga party days at the frat were over. And they made him more alien by saying, and then I don't know if this was during the Byrne Fantastic Four run that kind of changed most of that, but give him a ginormous noggin.
Yeah, his
then
head grew.
skinny him up. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if he's watching all the universes, he needs like ginormous eyes that he can give him like chameleon eyes that he can see all the universes from all the angles. That was
Have
how they
you
approached
watched
it.
the cartoon What If?
I did.
Let's avoid talking about the comic for another minute or two. So the cartoon What If?
I liked them enough. Some I liked more than others. I thought the Captain Carter one was good. T'Challa as Star-Lord was kind of a nah.
Yeah, I didn't like those.
And the sad thing is, like, that was his last role. It's like, oh,
I just thought the entire concept was kind of like, really, they couldn't do something else with Black Panther instead of that. It just made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think what it was is that the stakes weren't high enough on some of them. It's like you only do 6. Make certain that the impact you're doing is truly worthy of making an episode. And it's like they just didn't seem. The issue you read was quite literally like if the Avengers defeated everyone, and it's like, oh yeah, that's pretty high stakes.
Right.
Or something really weird like what if Dazzler became a Herald of Galactus? And it's like, yeah, that's pretty high stakes, But to say that it's like, oh, yeah, what if T'Challa was the one who got abducted instead of Star-Lord? And it didn't really change. Yeah, I was going to say, it didn't really change anything at all.
I mean, Thanos was a good guy, but whatever.
Yeah, so it was just the Doctor Strange one, I think there's something that's going to be playing into the the new movie coming up, so I feel like that's got some bearing on it.
I like the Thor. The Thor party one was pretty funny for me.
He didn't get any humility whatsoever.
They were kind of like, that was the series I was looking forward to the most, and I think that was the series I enjoyed the least. I did like episode where all the Avengers were getting killed, and who could it be that was killing them? That was kind of enjoyable. Yeah. But for the most part, they were just kind of like, oh, okay. Like throwaway story. Kind of like what if the Avengers defeated everybody?
Yeah, so what happens there?
Well, let me tell you, it was not what I was expecting having done this reread. I'm not sure I read it the first time, but maybe I did, because this may not be the best story you've ever read, but with a cover like this, how bad could it be?
Boom, boom, boom.
I do find it funny that on the cover it says, what if the Avengers defeated everybody? But on the inside, the title is, what if the Avengers were the last superheroes on Earth?
Bait and switch, what?
Right? I know.
I think you might have to consult a lawyer.
Yeah. And like I said, it's written by Stephen Grant, Alan Cooperberg drew it, Al Gordon inked it, I'm assuming. And even it starts out like the first page, it says, the editor's note said, does this scene look familiar? And right away I said, no, it doesn't. It doesn't look familiar at all. Because they said it should. It's based on the tale that originally appeared in Avengers Annual number 2. Well, I didn't get Annual number 2. No idea.
You're making some broad assumptions here, editor.
Right. It's interesting how the story takes place, and it states that it has 2 events that are changed to tell the story, and I didn't recognize either one. So it was kind of an easy read because I didn't have to think too hard about how it originally happened, because I didn't know that either. But it's under the presumption that the Centurion came back in time, and I think that's even like the Pharaoh and Kang, and it's that timeline of characters. He's had multiple versions of himself.
Oh, that's right.
Scarlet Centurion was one of them, I think, and he makes a deal with the Avengers and kind of convinces them. And later in the story, you find out he kind of mind controlled them too, so you can't really put the blame on the Avengers. But he kind of tells them how he's seen the future, and all the superheroes pretty much destroy the world, kind of like Kingdom Come in a way. So in order to restore the balance, they must go and defeat all the heroes to prevent that. And so they first attack the Fantastic Four and kind of kick their butt right away. And there's a panel here, like Thor takes out the Thing, and the Hulk also does, and Iron Man takes out the Human Torch, and Thor kind of takes out Reed, and then you see the Giant Man just holding the Invisible Girl in his hand, saying, I've got the Invisible Girl, but I can't say I'm very proud of it. And she's just kind of there. I don't know. It looks kind of odd and weird.
What?
Yeah, like, huh? So they take care of that for the Fantastic Four first, and they're not killing them, but they're sending them to the Scarlet Centurion, who ends up being Rama Tut in disguise, which to me is basically the same character anyway. But they take out Spider-Man and the X-Men and all the villains, and pretty much in one panel they take out, like you expect this book to be all fighting and just all this cool scenarios of how these Avengers will defeat all these guys, and they basically fight the Fantastic Four in 2 pages, and then everybody else in 1 page, in a big splash page. And apparently in the original story, at some point in Avengers Annual 2, Captain America, Hawkeye, Black Panther, Wasp, and Giant Man from the future come back to the past to fight them, to prevent them from helping the Scarlet Centurion. That never happened in this What If. Nobody came from the future to help them or defeat them or whatever. So again,
Set
they're on
them
their
on their
own.
ways.
Right. Then the Hulk gets kind of mad and they defeat the Hulk. So now they're fighting each other. It's just the four of them, Giant Man, Wasp, Iron Man, and Thor. And they decide that they should quit being heroes now that they've defeated everybody. The Earth will be better off that way. And so Thor goes back to Asgard and Tony Stark just takes off his suit and is the playboy, and Hank and Janet go off and have their life. And there is one cool page, and it reminds me of the Secret Wars page where they have everybody stand in line, and it's little versions of them. And I just realized what I think it is. But there's this cool page where the Silver Centurion, or whatever he's called, the Scarlet Centurion, is standing in front of all these heroes and villains that they've defeated, like they're action figures on a shelf. And he's just standing in front of them. I must like little depictions of heroes and villains. 'Cause I like looking at them. Like it's. I think part of it is when I was a kid, I used to draw little versions of these characters because that's about all my artistic talent would be able to do, is kind of vague pictures of this is Hawkeye because he's got a bow. And this is,
you can see the shape of that.
right. This is Angel because there's wings, obviously. So it's kind of got this cool background with him in front of all these heroes. And I think another part of that, of why I like it, is because of my Legion of Superheroes love. And the early issues of Superboy, he used to have these statues that he was given of each Legionnaire, and he'd have it in his room on a shelf. And he could touch them and talk to the future self, or it would activate some signal, or I don't know. But there must be some Legion connection in that too. So eventually, the Scarlet Centurion reveals himself to conquer. I did this just to conquer the world, and you must all surrender. But of course, Tony Stark still exists. He's made this new set of armor, and this strange blonde man in a blue suit says, "I will join you, my friend." And so the Avengers, minus the Hulk, attack the Scarlet Centurion, knowing that they've been, suckered into taking care of the rest of the world. And they fight and pretty much lose, get their butts kicked, until the blonde man in the blue suit steps forward. And I'm thinking, as I'm reading it, oh, it's Steve Rogers. But no, it's not Steve Rogers. It's Donald Blake. It's Thor. Boom. What? He hits him with a cane, and Thor just takes out Scarlet Centurion like he was nothing. And he beats him up, and we find out the Scarlet Centurion's just a man. He's just a man, of course. And then you get to thinking, hey, the Avengers, they're going to form back up, and they're going to take their world back. But no, they all decide to retire again. And Iron Man is left alone, wondering, what if this didn't happen? Boom, boom, boom.
Man, the comics universe would never have been the same.
Right?
Never have been the same.
I did find it interesting that besides that main story, there's also like a 10-pager story about Black Bolt and the Inhumans, which is not a what if. It's just a story for them.
Yeah. You wonder if it's one of those where there was like, we don't want to lose the copyright trademark we have on these people, so put them in print in whatever means possible.
Right, yeah. And then they do have a what if Submariner never regained his memory.
That's right. Because didn't Human Torch burn his beard off to reveal that's a Submariner?
Yep, sure did. And that was by Stephen Grant, Rick Buckler, Bob McLeod. And that story was okay. I'm not reviewing it here, but it was probably better than the first one. It ends up he lives in the frozen wastelands, and he worships a frozen Steve Rogers, which was kind of not bad.
That would have been the case. That's true. I wouldn't have thought about that. There was a few issues of the Fan 4 before the Avengers kicked in, so that would have given some time between Captain America making his appearance in the Avengers and Submariner returning in Fan 4.
Yeah. If nothing else, I've learned from this book is how creepy Giant Man is holding the invisible girl in his hand.
Oh, you've not read the What If Jane Foster had found the Hammer of Thor.
Right. What issue is that?
That's issue 10.
Oh, okay.
If I could ever recommend, well, I mean,
What's it
I
about,
couldn't.
Mike?
Well, I not if the title alone wasn't enough to give everything away, but yeah, in this particular issue, it is.
And now a word from our sponsor. Yeah, we don't have a sponsor. Well, we do. I mean, we have Thunder Chicken. Go listen to Thunder Chicken on Spotify or whatever you listen to. Thunder Chicken. Thunder Chicken. Here's some music. Thunder Chicken.
Focus on the relay team. Ingest the fallacies.
Yeah, that was Thunder Chicken. And now back to our regular show. Hey, everybody. It's Andrew here. And a couple days ago, we learned that George Perez had passed away. You know, we knew it was coming and we prepared for it. But when it happened, it still hurt. So George had pancreatic cancer and chose not to have any treatment for it. Passed away May 6th, I believe. On a personal level, much like everybody else, I was in shock. Even though we knew it was going to come, I didn't realize it was going to be that soon. And it was a slap in the face. Stunned me and many others. And there's a lot of people did tributes for him, said many things. You know, people who knew him, were closer to him, certainly had very nice things to say. I met George once at a convention, and I've broadcast this before on the podcast. I was stunned. I didn't know what to say to him. I probably, said something ridiculous or something he's heard a million times before, like, I like your art. But still, I'm glad to have met him. He was very nice and kind, signed some books. My interaction with him was great. Everything I wanted out of it. He was a very kind man, kind to everybody he's met. And it's just a shame that he died so young. 67 is young. Nobody should die in their 60s. That's just shouldn't happen in today's society, but it does, and there's nothing we can do about it. George was the first artist that I recognized instantly. I liked George's art before I knew it was George's art. George Perez. I liked his art. Some of the my first Legion of Superheroes was George did the covers for, and I hadn't realized it, but those were the ones that I was picking up first. And I didn't know he was just doing the covers, but he did the covers. He didn't do much Legion until later on, Legion of Three Worlds, which is gorgeous, and I'm going to read again soon. George did the new Teen Titans, and I was instantly in love with those books, and those are my favorite teams beside, Legion of Superheroes, New Teen Titans, Justice League of America, Avengers. He did all those, and those were my favorite titles. That's no coincidence at all. I have art framed, and it's George's art. I have a couple pieces on the wall, and they're the only ones I have on the wall, and they're all George. My kids' room has a George Perez Batman on it. My bathroom had a Wonder Woman cover #1 on the wall in my bathroom. It was all George. I got these comic book frames several years ago, and they were all New Teen Titans, all George Perez art, except one Dave Stevens, I think, now that I think about it. But, in good company. George Perez was influential in my storytelling and how I told the story when I, wanted to be a writer. I'd look at his examples. He was everything. A mentor. He was a mentor to me without knowing he was a mentor to me. I envied his art style. I envy people who can draw like him. He will always be my favorite comic book artist. I mean, there's a lot of artists I like, some I love, and he will always be #1. What I'm feeling isn't any different than what a lot of people are feeling, but I wanted to share how much I appreciate and love George Perez, and I'm going to miss his art, but I'm also going to enjoy his art and the ones I have. I'm always trying to find more, and I'm sure I will get plenty of more of his art and more of his books. George, thank you very much for being the supreme artist that I grew up with and continue to love, and Godspeed.
From his base on the moon, Uatu observes both Earth and alternate realities. What if Spider-Man had joined the Fantastic Four? What if Gwen Stacy had lived? What if Iron Man had been a traitor? What if the Punisher kills the Marvel Universe? What if War Machine had not destroyed the living laser? What if Bendis wrote a good story for DC Comics? What if the podcast had no microphone issues whatsoever?
Nothing. And how's that? Nothing? Nope.
What if I could hear Mike while he said nothing?
Dang it. I can't get jack out of these things. Okay. I'm holding one of the earbuds like as if it was a tiny microphone right in front of my mouth. Like, you remember when in the match game, Gene Rayburn would like have that ginormously long mic, and he'd hold it right next to his mouth. And it's like, okay. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm putting this thing right next to the old mouthicle. So, but
what if?
Okay. Picking up where we left off. So, issue 10 of volume 1 of What If has Jane Foster had found the hammer of Thor.
Hey, now.
And it starts off with a bang. I mean, we're talking like this is, you know what you're in for on this cover when two things happen. One, there's an insert of Thor going, by the sacred beard of Odin. That alone is worth the 60 cents on the cover.
Anytime he references Odin's beard, it's a good story.
Does that beard have powers of its own? Because it's sacred. You know, does it have like a sentience? It's like totally its own entity into it and of itself. You know, as a kid, I could never figure out Kirby's costume design for Thor. Like, what were those blue dots that were on the front of the costume? Well, when it's on a female form, those blue dots become something very, very different. And I was like, oh, no, they actually became a little bit more than a decorative piece of the costume. And all the rest of the costume is spot on to like normal Thor's costume, except on normal Thor, like the thighs are sometimes they're blue, but in this case, nope, wearing the Wonder Woman underwear kind of a costume design. So
how sexist,
you know? Yeah, and that's just the cover. Wait for the rest of the issue. It gets, oh my gosh, this is so good. So, this issue by Don Glut, because we're all glutton for punishment. And then it's Rick Hoberg is the artist. Never heard of Rick Hoberg, but
I think he did
Starman.
Starman.
They gave him a chance on What If. Yeah, but there's a lot where it feels like he's a Kirby.
The Starman from space, not the Starman from James Robinson. The one with the big star on his chest, and he flew around, and you don't see him anymore.
Yeah, like an orange costume or something weird.
Yeah, well, maybe not. Maybe I'm dreaming.
Yeah, and this follows kind of the similar format of like, you know, here's what you know, you mere mortals on your Earth. But in this one, I'm looking elsewhere, and I found a planet in which Don Blake and Jane Foster went on vacation together instead of just Don Blake on his own to find creatures. The Stonemen show up, and Don, because he can only walk with his cane, is left behind to the mercies of the Stonemen, while Jane Foster herself goes into the cave and finds the stick. And she becomes Thor, but when the hammer is, when the stick is hit, she transforms, and in doing so, her hair goes from the brown/black hair to gold hair. So it helps hide her identity. This is where it gets even weirder. So obviously, if you're familiar with Marvel's take on Thor, his hammer reads like, whosoever holds the hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. So she gets this, and I've heard of this Thor from mythology. Here's one of the best lines as to like, maybe I can, call myself something else. So she reads his hammer. It says Thor. And instead she goes, I remember from nursing school a Norwegian girl named Thordis. That had a nice sound to it. All right, then. That's what I'll call myself. Thordis. So she changes her name, even though Thor is clearly on this hammer, and she knows it's off of mythology. She's apparently dressed in with the powers of Thor. Everything is from Thor. She just decides, no, Thor's not the name. I'm going to go with Thordis.
Two things. So, in this story, Thor does not exist, and she finds the hammer. It's not like the movies coming up where she just gets the hammer and Thor's around also. It's just her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. This is, yeah. So the origin story that you know of in the comics where Donald Blake gets, he hides from these stonemen in a cave. And in that cave, he finds that stick that he hammers against the ground and it becomes Thor's hammer. And he transforms into Thor. He basically gets abandoned by Jane Foster, who she then makes it into that cave and finds the stick, and he's left to basically fend for himself against these stonemen.
Okay. And then I think my uncle got his Thordis out, a couple months ago.
Yeah.
He feels much
Hey,
better
that gets
now.
inflamed. Yeah. That could be a life and death situation there,
Right?
man. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
You
if
don't
you're
want
of a
that.
certain age, you have to have your Thordis checked every year.
Right? Yeah. Feels much better now, I'm sure.
So again, the costume, it's blue dots on the regular Thor costume, but for strategic reasons, there's two that become silver discs or cups or whatever you want to call them. Sweet Moses, it's like, why do you have to accentuate that part of the costume as well? So it just gets worse. And so much of this dialogue is this is a forced will they won't they kind of the Sam and Diane of Cheers, or more recently I can't even think of anything else, like Jim and Pam from The Office maybe, but it's like thought balloons of I can't tell her how thrilling it is just to be near her like this. And it's like, holy smokes, this dialogue is amazing. But a woman so beautiful could never love a cripple. Yeah, it's just like it's Adam West at his best dialogue reading ever. It's just like whenever you think about it. And the two of them is like, I know he loves me, but he won't say he loves me.
Does he make her a comb?
No, not Secret Wars, but ironically you say that because I'll have to come up to this point later on.
Okay.
But she transforms into Thordis, and as Thordis, she, drives the stonemen away. And then the military show up at the exact same moment. And it's like, but why? What could have driven them off? There's nobody around except for that lame passerby and his girlfriend. So there's huge assumptions already. And then there's one last dialogue balloon that says, but neither of them could be Earth's secret weapon. It's like, oh, but we know different, don't we, readers? That's normally where the story would have ended. And I think, the journey into mystery or whatever it was that it originally showed up. But then they jump into the whole Loki thing. So Loki gets loose and free. He starts doing his thing. And here's where things go even more interesting. So Loki's trying to, he feels the presence of Thor's hammer is returned. So he's going to make his appearance. Loki's starting to do some mischief on Earth. Donald Blake is like, oh no, I feel so helpless. As a doctor, I should do something, but I can't because I'm a cripple. Jane takes off. Gone. She runs down an alleyway. And here, as you had suspected, Don was too concerned with those people to notice me slipping into this alley. Now I can take out this hairbrush shaped from a piece of Norwegian wood, but I'm not going to brush my hair. Just one tap against the pavement and my innocent-looking brush, and I become Thordis, goddess of thunder.
Nice.
Sweet Moses, she took the stick and made it into a hairbrush.
Didn't the Beatles sing a song about that? Norwegian wood.
Yeah, silver hammer, certainly. Yeah, Norwegian. Yeah, Holy crap. She carved it into an inconspicuous hairbrush. This is a magical item. This item has transformed her into, and she's like over here like with a whittling knife, just like rocking back and forth on a chair on her front porch and converting this thing into a hairbrush. And it's like, you gotta be kidding me. This is her transformation thing in there.
I'm surprised they didn't make it into a frying pan or something.
Oh, okay. So she appears, and Loki is trying to look like a civilian in this environment, and it's like, again, by Odin's beard, though that attire is the thunder god's, that shapely beauty is not Thor. And I mean, this dialogue just continues. It absolutely continues in this way. So Thor and Loki, or Thordis and Loki, try to outdo each other. Loki gets flung to Asgard and convinces Odin that his sons have returned. And Odin's like, granted being all father and all that, he's supposed to be able to see all things. He sacrificed himself to himself. If you're familiar with the Norse mythology, he can have this ultimate wisdom, but apparently he's not able to see that his son has not really returned, but somebody else has got the hammer. But Loki's going, hey, come on, bring him on over here. So he goes, yep, okay, I'll bring Thor over. And sure enough, she shows up. And all these people are like, on Asgard are like, ooh, as she shows up without being his son, it's like, what? I summoned my son, not some Valkyrie in Thor's raiments. And it just goes on, and she gets hit on by the Warriors 3. It gets really, really awkward, and as if it weren't bad enough. And then Sif is like going, oh, if I have long been said that when I reach womanhood, and when Thor did eventually return to the eternal realm, then might someday the Thunder God and Sif wed. And it's like, oh, this is stuff that even soap operas, daytime soaps, would not even approach. But this comic has done it. And then they basically have like her fighting all the villains that Thor had fought. They reference the issues that this had happened in the continuity of Thor, and how that, oh yeah, when he fought Hyde, or Mr. Hyde, and he fought Lava Man, and when Thor fought Cobra, all these things. As you had, we were talking about how creepy Giant Man was. Well, here's another one. So I have to read this thing because this whole panel is astounding. She joins the Avengers, and it's like, I like these Avengers. They don't get intimidated by my powers, considering I'm a woman. And it's like, wow, this is an amazing, So then Wasp comes by, and she's flying by. It's like, Giant Man, with our most powerful member being a woman, your wonderful Wasp doesn't feel so tiny anymore. Giant Man, Mr. High Pockets, just what are you gawking at? Giant Man's response, did you say something, honey? As he's clearly leering at Thordis.
Besides, she has great legs.
This is with gams like that. Oh my gosh, it just keeps going. If anybody bought this issue thinking like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a true representation as to what this Love and Thunder is going to be like, yeah, this is not that issue.
I hope not.
So then Sif winds up going to Earth on her own, heals Donald Blake, so he's no longer crippled, and then the two of them fall in love. Then they all go back basically to Asgard, and this creature called Mangog, which is a being of a billion beings within it,
beans?
is causing Ragnarok. Lima beans, pinto beans, all of them. And they're duking it out, and Thordis gets knocked out. Odin finally wakes up again and says, like, oh, I'm going to end this all with just one little MacGuffin of a reaction. Poof. Donald Blake on his own holds Loki at bay with a magical sword. Odin's like, okay, you're done. Off he goes. And then Odin goes, oh, Thordis, give me your hammer. I'm giving it to the real person. So then she does, and she converts back to Jane Foster after all this time. And it's like, Jane Foster, I can't believe it. Thordis was really, oh, nurse? And then Odin hands the hammer to Donald Blake, and poof, he finally becomes Thor. Hey, I'm sorry, Jane Foster, you were once a mortal, then you got all this immortal power, and Thor, is really supposed to have his Thor hammer back. It's fate. It's just what it is. And she's like, oh, but he goes, well, I'm going to make you an immortal. Poof, you're an immortal. And she's like, yay. But then at the same point, she's like, oh, because Thor's in love with Sif. She's like, now that I'm immortal, I'm going to watch them be in love for all of eternity. And then it gets super creepy. She's like saying, it's like, I don't wish, but I think I would rather be, better off, if you had made me immortal again. And then Odin says, and deny thyself the love of yet another who hath lived perhaps too long without a woman at his side? And then she goes, am I understanding what you're saying to me, sire? Is the almighty Odin proposing to me? So the story's happy ending is Thor and Sif are finally married, and then Jane Foster and Odin, spoilers, wind up husband and wife. Really
that's
creepy
like
ending.
Marrying his daughter.
Yeah, no kidding. It's like, this isn't Old Boy. This is like, this dude was like truly, who's your daddy now?
I haven't bagged anyone in centuries.
No kidding. When Odin sleeps, he really sleeps. You know what I mean?
I'll give you the thunder.
So yeah. So then, obviously Thor gets his costume back. The blue dots become blue dots, no longer, silver dots in strategic locations. But then the colorists, goofs, this entire issue, they, have been drawing or coloring his legs as if they were uncovered because they were on the Thordis. So the very final panel that has Thor in it, they go back to skin-colored legs instead of the blue tights. And it's like, whoops, he switched into his feminine garb. Brilliant issue. One that could have only existed at this time, I guess, maybe. It was a bizarre read, a bizarre ride, and I loved every minute of how awkward it really, really was. So that was Thor, What If number 10. What if Jane Foster had grabbed Thor's hammer?
And that's a classic.
That's a classic. That's one of those key issues. That's the ones that's going up in value, like skyrocketing in value.
Right. Speaking of classics, I have issue 24. What if Wolverine was Lord of the Vampires? This was written by Roy Thomas, and Tom Morgan was the artist. Tom DeFalco was editor-in-chief at the time. Craig Anderson was just the editor. It starts out with scene from, it says X-Men 159, but Dracula and the X-Men are duking it out, and in the normal version, Storm does not betray Dracula and fry him. Well, in the normal version, she does. She stuns everybody else, but also then attacks Dracula, and then Doctor Strange does the Montessa formula and from the Darkhold and wipes out all the vampires. But in this issue, Storm is fully enthralled by Dracula and stuns Colossus, Wolverine, and Nightcrawler, and then Dracula drains them of their blood. Colossus and Nightcrawler become slaves of Dracula. I almost said Darkseid. Slaves of Dracula. And Wolverine, because of his healing factor, actually becomes a powerful vampire, kills Dracula, cuts his head off, and becomes Lord of the Vampires. Bum, bum, bum. And this was pretty much art by someone who drew a lot of stuff probably in the 90s, because it's very 90-ish, Farland-esque kind of art, which isn't a terrible thing, but it's certainly dated. And so Wolverine comes up with a plan on how to kill everybody in sight. And just like the issue where the Avengers took on everybody, now the X-Men take on everybody. It's the general theme. First they take out the New Mutants, and then Magneto and the Hellfire Club. and the Morlocks, and suddenly New York is infested with mutant vampires. I know, right? And then Wolverine says, well, we should probably take out Doctor Strange, which is a good idea. And how does he do it? Well, I actually like this idea. He sends Vampire Juggernaut to take out Doctor Strange. Juggernaut kicks his butt and a surprise attack, except Doctor Strange's astral form escapes. So that, again, I get little tiny visions of characters, and they go through who did they kill and who did they leave as a vampire. And I'm trying to rationalize why the writer decided that these people, well, therefore Wolverine decided these people become vampires, and these, they just did the final death. So, okay, here's who Wolverine turns to a vampire, besides the X-Men and stuff. Spider-Man, She-Hulk, Power Man, Shocker, Mole Man, Hulk, Moon Knight, Nick Fury, Electro, Kraven, Rhino, Mysterio, Doc Ock, Kingpin, Hobgoblin. So those, he changes them into vampires. Did any of those surprise you? I don't know.
No, I mean, it's mostly villains, but...
Right. And then he decides to kill off, which I can see a couple of these, like Reed Richards, Doctor Doom, Black Knight, Captain Marvel, Paladin, Black Panther, Human Torch, Hawkeye, Quicksilver, Daredevil, Vision, Scarlet Witch, and the Falcon. Looks like he just kills them outright. But Iron Man, Captain America, they're still around. I think they're being held back in reserve.
Adam Warlock held Silver Surfer back from Thanos. Right. Amazing strategies.
Doctor Strange's astral form finds Frank Castle, the Punisher, who's been shooting at vampires in New York. And he enters the Punisher's body and starts talking to him. And the Punisher suddenly gets Doctor Strange's cape so he can fly around. And they come up with a plan to take care of this vampire problem. And as of page 18, they still don't know that Wolverine's in charge and not Dracula, which is kind of neat. Like, they don't suddenly assume the main plot. So the Punisher and Doctor Strange enter Doctor Strange's secret sanctorum to try and get to the Darkhold. And he fights the X-Men and shoots them with silver bullets and sprays Colossus with holy water and has a silver-lined gloves. And I'm not sure that silver affects vampires like the author thought, but it all works out good. He kills Storm and Cyclops and, let's see, Nightcrawler with silver bullets. And then he fights the Juggernaut. The Eye of Agamotto kind of destroys Juggernaut. And then he finds out that it's Wolverine in charge of the vampire. And he tries to kill Wolverine, but it's unsuccessful. And suddenly it has to go fisticuffs. It's Frank Castle with a silver sword versus Wolverine and his claws. So they duke it out. And suddenly Kitty Pryde shows up in between the two. Just as Frank is about to kill the Wolverine, Frank kills Kitty because for some reason Kitty does not phase out again, decapitates Kitty, and Wolverine spazzes out, says, "You killed Kitty," and then kills Frank Castle. But that shocks the system. Doctor Strange kind of talks to Wolverine and convinces him that he's the bad guy. And Wolverine is unbrainwashed by this vampire beast inside of him and reads the Darkhold spell himself and kills all the vampires, including himself. Dogs and cats living together, total anarchy. The astral form of Doctor Strange heads off into space, and suddenly there are no vampires left, but no heroes either. And that's how Wolverine was Lord of the Vampires. Man, they don't write stuff like this anymore.
And tragically, none of that's been reused in current continuity.
Right. I think they were going to use it in the next Star Wars, though.
Because that is really the Force is the Force of the vampires. It'll be with you always.
Right.
And so will garlic.
Not bad. Not a bad issue. The cover had Dark Phoenix and Wolverine feeding on her, but she was not even in the issue at all. So I was a little disappointed in that.
Man,
but
another bait and switch.
I know, right? And so that was disappointing, but that probably would have been too easy for Dark Phoenix to have just slaughtered everybody. But
yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those cases where it's like, yeah, there was a moment in a comic at some point where Storm could have gone this way or did a thing, and then if that didn't happen, this would have happened. It's like, was that enough to justify an issue? Was that a pivotal, a truly like, oh my goodness, make or break moment? And it's like, I don't know. But at some point, you just kind of go like, well, who's popular right now? Wolverine. Okay. And Punisher. Okay. Let's make a what if with those two. And that makes perfect sense. Then it's like, yeah, we couldn't have them fight each other in any other reason. It would be nothing for them to bring them together unless if they could somehow make it where Wolverine is a vampire. Then, of course, the Punisher would come in and duke it out.
exactly.
And it's like, oh.
Good thing Punisher had those silver bullets.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? You just carry it around. It's like, I got my keys, my wallet, and my silver bullets. Have them all right at hand. Yeah, I vividly remember that cover, and I think it was because it was one that just sat on the shelves for a very long time at the local comic shop. And it was just like nobody wanted it. No, okay, well, it'll be here until somebody does.
Well, I did buy it for $1.
But yeah, that was definitely. I'll buy that for $1. But it's like there are moments in the comics where it's like, well, yeah, Electra dies. What happened if she didn't die? Gwen Stacy dies. What happened if she didn't die? Dark Phoenix. What happened if she didn't die? Oh yeah, there's that one too. So there's a lot of them where it's like, key moments in Marvel history. If they had just taken a different route, what would happen?
Right.
And oddly enough, as I mentioned earlier, it's like, what would have happened if Spider-Man had stopped and prevented Uncle Ben from dying?
If Uncle Ben still made rice.
A talk show host. Yeah, he would have gone into that lucrative rice deal.
Right.
That's where all the money's at. Instant rice. So, some of them make sense, and then others are just like, you remember that one time when somebody said something in an issue? What if they didn't say that?
Right.
It's like, that's enough for them to make a whole what if issue.
It's almost as if they created an Elseworld.
Doing. My second issue of choice was issue 18 of the volume 1. What if Doctor Strange were a disciple of Dormammu? These characters would probably come into play in this new Doctor Strange movie. And the cover, again, these misleading moments. Looks like it has great Gene Colan artwork. I'll open it up. And it is Tom Sutton doing the interior. Not bad, but it's very much not Gene Colan. There is, I don't know what it is, where people just don't understand what Doctor Strange is, but they feel as if they have to go like, well, let's go Merlin the Magician. I think that's the same as Doctor Strange, right? So instead of them being listed off as writers, an artist, an illustrator, penciler, inker, it is Peter Gillis, Bard, Tom Sutton, Illuminator, Bruce Patterson, Embellisher, Tom I'm going to butcher this guy's last name, or Zechowski, Scribe, and then poor Glennis Ween, colorist. That's it.
And
it's
Jerry
like,
Mathers as the Beaver.
All these other people were like, as the Beaver. Because it's like Bard, Illuminator, Embellisher. I was like, good grief, you couldn't come up with something like Swatch Master or something, anything. I think it's like, we already used Embellisher. We don't have anything else. Yeah, this one wasn't the cover, I thought it was like, oh man, Doctor Strange is going to be all sorts of evil. And he's going to like take over the whole world. No, it's all kind of self-contained within just Doctor Strange's like ring of friend. I mean, it starts off with the traditional like, hey, here's him, what you remember. His origin. He, gets in the car accident, can't use his hands, finds the ancient one, and the ancient one's like, hey, I can help you out. Just learn these magical things and you're all set. But in the meantime, watch out for this Baron Mordo dude, because he's going to kind of lead things astray. Even so much that not Tony Stark, but Doctor Strange, Stephen Strange says, in reference to Mordo, what a creepy looking character. Well, in this one, it's like, the Watcher comes back and it's like, ha, that's what you know, but wait for it. What would have happened if Dormammu
Became Thor
just wanting one pupil? Yeah, Dormammu wanted an extra pupil and convinces Stephen Strange that he needs to do this. So he does. And he actually goes back to becoming a medical doctor for a while because through Dormammu, his surgery skills return with such skill that he's doing amazing things that never been thought of before. But then somehow he gets malpractice, and then it's like, hey, you want more power? Dormammu can give you more power. And so they start duking it out. And then the Ancient One goes like, well, crap, if I can't get Doctor Strange to be my disciple, I gotta find somebody else. Hey, I hear this Doctor Doom character might be good. Goes over to talk to Doctor Doom for one page. Shows up, says like, hey, you want to be my disciple? Doom's like, oh, I'm no one's disciple. Then the Ancient One comes back and goes, oh, that didn't work. That was it. I was like, well, then why put the page in there?
Right. Yeah.
It was like, it meant nothing. It was there and it was gone. So then he basically calls together, and I don't know if any of these people are like legit characters. I know a few of them are, like Agatha. So basically, the Ancient One kind of calls a council of the magically inclined of Marvel Universe. So Agatha Harkness, which we've seen in the WandaVision, has come to mainstream, awareness, but she has been in Marvel Comics forever. And then Dr. Anthony Druid is also there. But then they have these other people like Count Karazi, Rama Khalif, Taryn Barum, and a Lord Fife.
And Jerry Mathers as the Beaver.
Man. Yeah. So he pulls all these weird people together, and it's like, hey, I was able to use the Eye of Agamotto, and I saw eternity. And they said that, hey, because you're not worthy, Ancient One, somebody else is going to come around, and I'll talk to him. So, okay. So then you got booted. And it's the weirdest. Everyone wants to betray everyone. And then every panel is like, I want to kill this person. I want to kill this person. With their thought balloons, like stupid woman, stupid mortal. And oh my gosh, it just keeps going. Doctor Strange tries to attack the Ancient One. He's like going, I got so much power, I can destroy the Ancient One. Doesn't work. Doctor Strange gets thrown through the multiverse and does meet Eternity. And in doing so, Eternity goes, yep, you're kind of wasted potential. Throws him back into the real world. And then they do the same thing over again. They make another one of these like golden dome things for them to hide inside. Doctor Strange is given the Eye of Agamotto for some weird reason. Dormammu was like, wait a minute, you're betraying me. You got too much power. And Doctor Strange is like, nah, don't worry about it. I'm going to destroy the Ancient One. And instead, the Ancient One just is like, hey, you use the eye on me. Now I become really powerful because you used the eye against me, and we're good now. And why don't you go ahead and step into the eye and talk to Eternity again? Eternity basically says, like, you get a choice, be good or bad. I choose to be good. And then he becomes disciple of the Ancient One. The end. It was a complete farce of an issue. It was just this thing where I can now understand the multiverse of madness because it legitimately kept going in loops. Oh, I'm going to fight the Ancient One. Okay. And I do. And I get beat. And then I'm going to go fight the Ancient One. And the Ancient One uses the same strategy again. And, and it's just like, And then after each fight, I'm going to talk to Eternity. It's like I kept reading the same issue. You know, it was like every 3 pages. It was like the 3 pages before that. So it was kind of that was it. That was the entirety of the issue, and I was kind of. I mean, not that I was looking for, it's some sort of a PG Woodhouse level of, wit or, wordplay or anything like that. It was just like, this was just kind of nothing of an issue.
So if you have a favorite issue of What If, let us know and we'll review it some other What If time. If you disagreed with our choices or interpretations of What If, let us know. We have an email account. We're at, and this is why I love comics at gmail.com. We are on the Twitter. Check us out. We have a lot of plans for the future, and we've gone through, and on the Facebook page, we have some teasers of what we're going to read next. So join the Facebook group if you haven't already, and happy May 4th of whatever the 4th be with you, even though you're going to hear this like a couple weeks later. And for This Is Why I Love Comics, I'm Andy.
And I'm Michael.
And we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Turn on the Thunder Chicken.
Thank you.
Thanks, Thunder Chicken.
Thunder.
Thanks
Thunder Chicken.
Thanks, Thunder Chicken, for letting us use their music. Go check them out on Spotify.
Focus on the relay team. Ingest the fallacies. Write it on these cave walls. It's open for theories. These things die tomorrow. Just push in the knife to learn this forgiveness is an eyesore.
Who's your daddy now?
I haven't bagged anyone in centuries.